Awesome, and this one is, pre-recorded, we could redo, but drill rap, when you first became superintendent, early, 2011, it's kind of around the same time when that genre of music emerged. Do you recall when you first heard about it, what you knew?
Well, the term drill rap, wasn't really aware of, but the music industry for years has been involved in crime, guns, right? Sean Pitty Combs, Lil Wayne. When I was in Jersey, I actually disciplined a couple of my detectives because they actually walked him into the Prudential Center and were acting as security for him. And the guy was arrested for carrying firearms. You're not supposed to consort with known criminals, right? So I came here with that background already. When I got here, I think probably Chief Keef was the first time something really jumped up, and I had to pay attention to it. And the videos and the intelligence that was being drawn from the music and the social networks was remarkable. So that was really interesting. As a matter of fact, one particular dummy gangbanger went to another gang's turf and was sitting underneath a sign doing a video when he got shot for being there. I mean, that's how crazy it was. And it just went back and forth and around a whole bunch of times until the point where Chief Keef had warrants and couldn't even come to Chicago, as I recall, to do a show. And he did it through a hologram or something like that, which was, I was like, what on earth is going on here? If you're talented, sing your music and move on, right? But something about the whole gangster world and rap music, I mean, it's kind of founded out of it almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, because it emerged around the time of social media, and there just kind of became this, I diss you, you diss me back and forth, clout chasing type things. How do you think social media played into all of it?
Well, first of all, what a lot of people don't realize, if you think about gangs going back years, they would go to other gang turfs and tag it with spray paint. Well, they use the social media now to tag each other. And that's the equivalent of tagging somebody else, like they used to do back in the, 70s, 80s, 90s, I don't even know. Yeah, that had a real influence on the explosion of I don't know if I want to say violence, but the culture that seemed to be negative, let's put it that way.
Yeah, so we've had situations in the past where a lot of drill rap artists, so Chief Keef is one of the few artists that made it basically. He moved to LA, got a big record deal, but a lot more local people, King Von, FBG Duck,
Right.
They were killed.
Yeah, didn't turn out so well.
Yeah. Did you have any, knowledge of those people that were out there, and then how did you kind of investigate situations revolving people and posts and music and things like that? What were those challenges?
Well, I didn't really have anything like that. The thing that really jumped up that I remember relatively clearly is Chief Keef, and we're going back 15 years now. So that was the first thing that I recall. But the other thing was the intelligence that was coming off of social media was remarkable. And we could actually almost predict where a shooting was going to be. And this is not funny, it's really ironic. One of the ways that we reduced violent crime was through something called the gang database. And the gang database was simply, we did a survey with all our intelligence officers, all our gang officers, and basically tried to identify as much information. Who are the gangs? Where are the gangs? Who are they in conflict with? So that if somebody gets shot here, and we find out that he's a Red Hot Chili Pepper, is what I like to say. I don't like to say their names because we don't want to give them any credit. And we know that the Red Hot Chili Peppers are in conflict with the Sharks, who are over here. We would go to the Shark territory and intercept Red Hot Chili Peppers, who were going to retaliate. Of course, the gang retaliation was happening as quickly as 4 to 6 minutes after one shooting. And social media, we got a ton of intelligence off of that. I'm sure everybody knows that by now. Back then, we wanted to keep it a little bit secret. But we operate with data, crime patterns, right? And same thing with gang enforcement. And that gang database has been pulled off the shelves by politicians. And as a result, people are getting killed. So I don't understand why there has to be so much meddling in policing. I really don't. You don't tell doctors how to operate when you go to the hospital. You don't tell your electrician which wires to connect to get your electricity running. You don't tell plumbers what to do underneath the sink. Why is it that everybody's an expert on policing? And as a result, political interference is really getting people hurt in this country.
So you mentioned social media and how there was a lot of tracking people, but it seems like young people are still posting online and dissing each other. So, why aren't they being taken off the streets, or why aren't they being punished, or like how is it that they can post all these things and then something terrible can happen and you can kind of see a link there, but there's not necessarily a resolution?
That's because it's after the fact and we're trying to solve a case. We were doing preventive policing. That's kind of gone because you can't do data-driven policing without data. And like I said, a limit's been put on that. As a matter of fact, I just saw on the news today that if this guy Mandami is elected in New York, he's going to eliminate the gang database. What would motivate somebody to do that? And people say, well, civil rights and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not like Aon comes to the police department and says, hey, Gary McCarthy, is he a gangbanger? Is he in your gang database? No. I have yet to find where somebody's been harmed by being in the gang database. Many times, they're self-admitting gangbangers. Many times, it's tattoos. There's other ways to track it. So I don't understand this whole civil libertarian thing about gang databases. It's important for the police departments to know who are the criminals, where are the criminals, and who is potentially the next person to get shot. Because solving it doesn't help. Person still got shot, right? So that's where I am.
So for after the fact, like let's say something already happens and then you have to go back and kind of follow the trail of social media. What are kind of the challenges there in terms of like actually connecting someone to the crime? A lot of these situations have people, dissing each other or, making fun of people's graves, really kind of gruesome things.
Sure.
At what point are you able as a law enforcement officer to connect someone with something?
Sometimes it happens immediately, sometimes it takes months. Homicide, murder investigations, they never really close. They might go cold, but you never know when somebody's going to call a tip line. You never know when you're going to make an arrest for a gun and somebody says, hey, I want to tell you about something, and we can go and solve another case. So it's sometimes immediate. We know that this guy's fighting with this guy gets shot. That's a clue, right? So we should do something about it. But it all depends on the case.
What would you say to these young people who are, posting online, posting for attention in this world? As a law enforcement officer, what would your advice be?
Do something else with your life. Okay, social media, it's part of our world now. It didn't exist 20 years ago, right? Now it's part of our life. But guess what? It's not your life. And if you're going to get involved in that type of culture of going back and forth with gang type stuff and violence, there's a theory came up with a guy named Andrew Papachristos. He's a criminologist. I think he was at Yale. I'm not sure where he is now. But he came up with this theory about one handshake out, two handshakes out. So John Smith gets shot, right? Who has John Smith been arrested with? And if you go and you look and you see three guys, and then there's those three guys know another three guys, so you got 9 guys, or however many you got, the likelihood of them getting shot goes up dramatically. That whole thing that our parents always told us, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are, it's true. So do something else with your life. Get into music, not necessarily drill, right? Get into sports. Become a programmer if you're that good at social media and start working on things like that. Come up with some innovations, but don't do that stuff.
I think part of it too is a lot of people that are involved in the social media, the posting, and even the drill rap scene. They start off really young. Tell me about how it's a challenge, or if it is a challenge, to police and make sure people are receive the proper punishments when they're at that age, and the challenges behind that.
It doesn't happen. That's why gangbangers have shorties, right? That's why senior gangbangers, the best example I could give you is the Adam Toledo case. The 13-year-old kid who was out with the gangbanger at 2 o'clock in the morning, the gangbanger is shooting at somebody, gets picked up on ShotSpotter, police respond, gangbanger gives the gun to Toledo, he runs and gets shot and killed by the cop. The reason why they have shorties is exactly that, because nothing would have happened to Toledo if he were captured with that gun. So, our juvenile justice system is a wholesale failure, absolute wholesale failure. And I hate to tell you things like this, but I've found kids as young as 10 years old who have a 1,000-yard stare, who have already seen so many things that I don't know if they can come back from that. I saw it right here, in the subway, on the Red Line. One night when a bunch of kids were kind of running through crowds and on the subway, and we went down and we collected about 8 or 9 kids, and one kid had the 1,000-yard stare, and another kid was crying, and the kid with the 1,000-yard stare was making fun of the kid who was crying and calling him all sorts of names and stuff like that. I don't know where that kid is today, if he's still alive. So the juvenile justice system doesn't work at all.
So part of the reason why we are looking into this is that back over 4th of July weekend, there was a mass shooting in River North. It was an artist release party.
Mm-hmm.
She was a drill rap artist. Large group of people outside, 18 shot, 4 killed. Do you remember hearing about this? What was your immediate reaction?
My immediate reaction was I was glad that I sold my condo in River North that was 2 blocks away from there. That's what I thought. Terrible. Terrible that I had to think like that. But we moved out because I was hearing gunshots in River North. That's not okay. It's not okay to hear gunshots in your neighborhood and think that it's normal. My neighbor's windows got shot out in the apartment next to us. So it was time to get out of that neighborhood. And guess what? Beautiful neighborhood. East Bank Club, Erie Cafe, Pocket Park right there that my kid was playing in every day. So that was my immediate reaction. This is terrible. No reason it should be going on.
And what about from a law enforcement perspective? Just, hearing that there were so many people outside, obviously a popular place, public place, cars just drive by. What was your reaction to how it all went down?
Unfortunately, I've seen it so many times. It's almost like we knew it was going to happen sometime. We went to a restaurant around the corner from there. This is probably 7 or 8 years ago. And we had some friends in that my wife went to college with. And we had dinner there. And all of a sudden the place changed. Champagne bottles came out, the lights went down, the music changed. And I was like, whoa, we got to get out of here. And we left the restaurant, and I told our friends, I said, there's going to be a shooting here within 6 months. I was wrong. 6 weeks, there was a shooting there, right outside it. Guy got killed. So, I mean, I'm tired of it, you know? And I've been dealing with this my whole life. I mean, I grew up in the Bronx. Son of Sam shot 5 of my friends. I mean, I've been dealing with gun violence my whole life, and I've spent my entire police career trying to stop that from happening. Had some success, had some failures, but I know what works. And unfortunately, we just refuse to do it in this country right now.
With drill rappers, a lot of times, you know, their lyrics are violent,
Mhm.
not always, but a lot of times. And some argue that it creates more violence. Some
Mhm.
other people argue, well, people are just rapping about the lives they live, the things they see in their community. What is your thoughts on that?
Yes and no. You find out that some of these guys who come up, or women who come up in whole different places, right? P. Diddy went to my rival Catholic school in the Bronx, okay? He didn't grow up in a bad neighborhood. And look at where he ends up, right? So, and I've seen that a couple of different times. You know, you have to like guys like Chance the Rapper, who does something completely different. He gives back to the community. I know his father, and he appears to be a good guy who does the right thing. Seems pretty easy for him, right? He's not acting, right? He's not acting like he's a thug. He's just performing music, and I think that's what it should be more like. But somehow, that stuff sells.
John, do you have any questions? Anyone back here? Back there?
This might be the best part of the doc.
Did you have, you said you...
I did too, but if you don't have anything else, let Gary have a sip of water and to shake it out and to shake Sean O'Hare's hand.